Hi everyone, in this video we're looking at how to make a custom granule formula in TCM Weaver. We're going to use the nonlinear mind maps so we can figure out what herbs to borrow from which formulas, put everything together so that it makes sense. And then for this video I'm going to show you how I go into Kamwo, into the eScript Pro Shop, and then just plug in my custom granule and then get it ordered and sent either directly to me or drop shipped to the patient. So I'm going to start my search with anxiety, which is the patient's chief complaint, and I'm going to filter it so that we're only seeing the herb formulas that have to do with anxiety. So that gives us 22 results. And this is really cool because we're pulling from all this wisdom of Eastern medicine and being able to find at a glance every formula that has anything to do with anxiety. So we're going to narrow things down a little more. This patient also has some menstrual symptoms. So I'm going to type in MENS because that'll grab menstrual, menstruation, menses, and it's going to pull up now every reference to that in combination. So we've narrowed things down to 3 formulas that have to do with anxiety and menstruation. So this is great. We can compare 3 formulas. I'm just going to click my graph icon here and we'll get all 3 of them on the graphical workspace. So there's Bajantong, Guipitong, and Nuka Baitsa Renwan. And I'm going to click each one of these and expand them with wander mode. And it's going to look like a ton of information once this unpacks, but that's the point. So don't get overwhelmed just yet. We're trying to see everything we can see and then we'll start narrowing it down from there. So you can see there's a lot of information associated with 3 different formulas. And this is the whole point, is to take what's in our brains and our subconscious and in our stacks of books and everything else and get it all in one place. Now, of course, it looks overwhelming. So we're going to start narrowing it down. The first thing I want to do is filter just based on the indications. So I'm going to turn off herbs and all the other kind of miscellaneous information we could be looking at. So we only see the indications of these 3 different formulas. Great. I'm going to increase the text size so I can read it a little bit better, and I'm just going to play around with these settings of how the graph is displaying so that I can make this more easy to look at, because there's still a lot of info out here. So what we can see straight away is that with these 3 different formulas, Bajantong, Nuka Baitsa Renwan, and Guipitong, there are some common symptoms. You can see this almost like a Venn diagram. We've got things like vertigo, deficient pulse, thin pulse, emaciation, wan complexion, all this stuff that you can see right here are commonalities amongst these formulas. So what I want to look at now are some of the outlier indications that aren't shared, like spotting, weight loss, sallow complexion. Over here we have unease, submerged pulse, aching feet, irritability, feverishness, early menses, insomnia. So we can see that there are similarities and there are distinctions amongst these formulas. So the next thing I want to do for this, I'm going to actually hide the indications and I'm going to show the herbs that make up the formulas, and we'll look at the architecture there. And again, there's a lot of stuff out on the map, so I'm just going to play with the display settings until I get something that is easier to read. So right away we can see there's a lot of commonality in the architecture between Bajantong and Guipitong, a lot of similar ideas. And we can also see that Nuka Baitsa Renwan is kind of its own concept over here. The real relation is the Dihuang, the Romania, that's in common with the Bajantong. And then there's a Dui Yao pairing of Swanzao Ren and Baitsa Ren. But otherwise, there's not really a lot of connection between these 2 formulas and this one. So in this case, what I'm going to do is just take a look at these 2 formulas. And let's say I want to kind of combine Guipitong and Bajantong ideas for this patient, and I want to add just a little bit of the ideas from Nuka Baitsa Renwan. Like maybe I do want to add the Baitsa Ren because it's a Dui Yao, and I want to add Shuduan and Nushi. So all I'm going to do, because this is my custom formula that I'm architecting here, is I'm going to go click these herbs that I don't want to include and just X them out. And now that's off the map. And let's say for this patient, I think the Long Yan row is a little too sticky, too cloying, so we'll get rid of that one. And here we have what's going to become our custom formula. So again, you have to play with the visualization settings so that you can get something that's easy to read. Depending on how much data you've got out here, you might have to tweak the sliders a little bit. So here we have our custom formula, which is basically Bajantong, and then I've added on to it some chunks of Guipitong, the Yuanzhi, Muxiang, and Swanzao Ren, and I've added onto it some ideas from Nuka Baitsa Renwan. So for this particular patient, I'm essentially taking a nucleus of Bajantong and I'm adding some pieces, some ideas, some concepts from other formulas, and I can very easily see where the different concepts came from and how they're related, because there's a ton of Guipitong involved in the Bajantong idea already. So my next step is to go to Kamwo for the eScript for the custom granule. So I'm going to open up a window on the side for that. So I've logged into the Kamwo site under the eScript. I'm making a custom granule. I'll fill out the reference name. It's just going to be, I'll just call this for this video custom granule 1. And I don't need to fill in all these fields for you guys. But what I want to do now is look at the prescription formula. And I'm going to, first of all, I know I did Bajantong without any modifications. So I'm going to load the traditional formula of Bajantong. And this is a great feature that they have in Kamwo here. So I'm just going to load that up. And now I've got all these herbs all 8 of them dosed out. So I know that the Bajentong part is handled, and that's on my list. So now instead of like adding Guipitong and having all these duplicates, I'm just going to look at what's not connected. And I know that I've got Yuanzhi, so I'll just get that one in there, and it's right there. And we're going to dose it like that. And I've got Muxiang right there, and we're just going to dose it like that. And the only other one from Guipitong we're missing is Swanzhao Ren, so I'll just plug that in here. Right there, and we'll put that one at 9. And now I know I've handled all of this. Everything that comes off the Bajentong node has been handled because we preloaded that. Everything that comes off the Guipitong has been handled because we got all the Bajen commonalities, plus we've got these other herbs put in. And now I'm just looking at the Nuka, Baizi, Renwan ideas. So I've got Nushi, Shuduan, Baizi, Ren to add. So I'm actually going to start. Let's get the Baizi, Ren. And it's right there. And let's put that one at 9. And we've got the Shuduan right there. Right there. And we'll put that one at 9. And then we have the Nushi. Now there's a couple different Nushis, right? If you go into Kamwo and you start typing in Nushi, they want to know which one you want to use. So let's go back over to TCM Weaver. And I can click on the Nuka Baizi Renwan. I can click this little icon. It'll pull up all the information off to the side here, and I can see if they specify a certain type of Nushi in the ingredients here. Like for example, the Romania for this formula is Shu Di Huang, right, which we could look at, but the Nushi doesn't have a specification. So what I'll do instead is I'll look at Nushi itself, and let's see if it has some information about which herb is generally used as the default. So when it calls for Nushi, we can go down to the bottom and see about notes, and this is also known as Huai Nushi. So if it was the other, it would have been specified. So let's go here, and now we know what we're looking for in Kamwo. So we're going to go for the Huai, and we'll go 9 grams on that. And then from here, I've now got my custom granular formula all set. It's based on the work I did in the Weaver. I know where all these things came from, right? There's a mental map associated with this, which is right here. And if I want, I can just grab a screenshot of this and just save it in my files for this patient. Right? Very easy. Just screenshot it, put the date, go, this is what I was thinking, this is what I gave them, and you can map and see where everything is and where it all came from. Then I would just go through and figure out how many grams, if I want capsule, powder, all these kinds of things, and then go ahead and just finish placing the order with Kamwo. Very, very easy. You can do this extremely quickly, especially when you've done the work on the front end. All right, so there you go. Hope that helps in your practice. Cheers.